I'm going to relate two stories. One of them is a personal experience of mine. The other one, I'm hoping, is just a ghost story that people tell around, campfire at night to scare themselves, to scare others. Now, the first one, like I said, it was back in the mid 1990s. I was at a New Age bookstore. Now, there used to be a handful of New Age bookstores around. This particular one was over in Scottsdale. I doubt it's still there. I haven't really tried to look it up and see if it's still there. Now, there is one on Glendale Avenue, about 98th, 97th Avenue, something like that. I was in there about 6, 8 months ago, and I did buy a couple small things and got in a brief discussion with a so-called psychic that was that owner is running the place, and I would certainly question their abilities. But anyway, at this lecture given by a Native American, he was talking about the power centers of the Four Corners area, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. There were Native Americans living in that area maybe 500,000 years ago, and they all they consider that area sacred. They consider that like in Sedona, the vortexes of Sedona, those are supposed to be kind of scattered all around there. And there's a handful of people that know where these power centers are. But, these places, they didn't really live there. They just kind of held these places sacred and would visit the places for their ceremonies. But anyway, at a certain point, they all kind of left. And the prevalent theory with anthropologists is that they had a number of years of drought, and they just decided to move, to either assimilate with other cultures, or maybe they went to war with them or whatever. I don't know exactly what happened, and that's been some debate. But anyway, there was this one lady that was attending this lecture, and for some weird reason, she was forcing me to pay attention to her. Through the whole lecture, I was, she's forcing my mind to pay attention to her. Um, and at the end of the lecture, of course, this was after the bookstore had closed. I found myself following her out from the lecture hall to, where the bookstore was. Of course, the lights were all turned off, and somewhere as I was behind her, my thoughts went through my head. Maybe it's not the best of ideas to be following this lady out of the store in the parking lot, because I have no idea what she's got in mind, and to this day, I have no idea what her agenda was. Now, I spent about 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. Now the lights were off, but, I was still kind of going through the books, kind of, just kind of reading a few of the books they had for sale there. Of course, there's no salesperson there. I couldn't have bought anything. But anyway, after about 20 minutes, I said, well, I do need to head back home. Because this was Scottsdale. From Scottsdale back to Avondale, it's probably a half hour, 45-minute drive, even on the freeway. So I walked out in the parking lot, and of course, she was gone. I did meet up. Well, I didn't meet up, but I just saw her again. Now there was another event. It was actually a guy giving a lecture. He had classes on Kundalini Yoga. I did take the Kundalini Yoga classes, twice, for two different deals. But anyway, I just briefly said hi to her and just talked to her for a second or two. And I have no idea. There was two parts. There was introduction to what this guy was giving a lecture, and then he had some very brief classes. As part of this, he kind of explained what Kundalini Yoga, really was, and it was a kind of a 15-minute break between them. She disappeared, between in the break. So whether she just left, she figured I might be a problem for her, or I have no idea. I have no idea what she had in mind. To this day, I have no idea who she was or what her agenda was. Was she, going to recruit me for a cult? Was she looking for a boyfriend? Was she going to try to, convince me that New Age was wrong? She was a hardcore Christian. I have no idea. She could have been a guardian angel trying to distract me from another bad situation at that lecture. I have no idea. But anyway, like I said, people do disappear, and I have no idea if that has had anything to do with it or not. Now, the next one I'm going to cover, I've covered this a couple of times also, is called the mimic. Now, let me give you a scenario. Now, let's say a guy is camping with his family, his wife and kids are there in one tent, and there's two or three other families, in other tents that, they've all gone to sleep. They had their cookout hours earlier. All this stuff is still set up outside. And this guy, his family is still fastly asleep. In the middle of the night, he has to get up to pee. So he goes out of the tent, goes in the forest, some distance, a couple hundred feet from from his tent, to pee, and he hears off in the woods. It's his wife's voice. Let's say the guy's name is John, his wife is Jane. He hears Jane calling. Said, John, I'm over here. I'm hurt. I need your help. And he knows that's not his wife, but it's his wife's voice. Again, he hears, John, it's me, Jane. I need your help. I've been hurt. So he faces pain, goes back to his tent, makes sure his wife is safe asleep. Now, you do hear people go missing in the forest. Is this, does this have anything to do with it? I have no idea. Now, if you ever hear someone you know calling out in the forest, hey, go back, get some other family members, friends, whatever, go back out there with you and just see what's going on if you want. Or your best bet's probably just to leave them alone. Just say, hey, I don't think this is anything good. But I'm asking my viewers, my subscribers, what do you think? Do you think it's had anything those people go missing? Either of those two stories. Now, I'm hoping this will be a benefit to somebody. I'm hoping somebody that hears this will say, hey, I out of some situation, or maybe in the future, someone will, one of these two scenarios will crop up, and this will help them not get abducted. I don't know. Just let's all stay spooky out there. That's quoting Colin Brown. Let's keep life interesting. Love you. Bye bye.